Okay, we're back on the record. People versus VanCallis. Are we ready to proceed?
The other people are. So is the defense.
Your next witness ready?
He's on the stand, same
he's
witness.
still here.
He's
I'm sorry.
finished.
There you go.
We'll just remind him once the jury comes in. He's
Yeah,
coming out.
so I know how to do my job. I've
I
been doing
know.
it for 23 years.
All
Bring
right.
in the jury. Let's do it.
Craig, I'm gonna play the. Okay. And now I'll go to a live. Just narrow it down a little better.
I got a couple dogs I'm going to send over for you to train, all right?
Bring them all. I got a full canine training ground.
Maybe
I got-
you're
I got-
11. Can you teach your old dog new tricks?
Some. I got 1 on 7 training grounds in the United States that's certified.
You got all set?
Most of them have a deep bark.
Oh, yeah. And when he's tracking, he's just,
Yeah, we used to live next door to a dog like this. He has a bark or something.
yeah.
All rise for the jury.
Okay, witness, you are still under oath to tell the truth. My plan is to roll till 5. So base your witnesses accordingly, and if you need to take a break at any time, folks, in between, let me know. Let's go.
Deputy Morgan, a couple of things I just wanted to finish up with you on. The night that you took your bloodhound out and tracked from, or went, I don't use the right term, went from the location back to April's house. To be clear, that was not an effort at tracking her path. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was not a track. That was a trail.
And a trail versus a track, real quickly, is what?
It's air scent. The dog actually air scents the odor from an article.
Okay. So it's going to, dog's working its way back, or to, I shouldn't even say back, to a location, not necessarily following up a street, down a street, over a street, up a street, the same path the person traveled.
Correct. If I can give you an explanation, I'll be
Go
happy to
ahead.
do that. If
Tell the jury.
Oh, the jury. If I, just a quick explanation of the way I trained this dog and did it 300 plus times, I can go into the woods, or a person could go in the woods from one side and set in the woods. I can go in the woods, take 50 acres, I can go in the woods from the opposite side, give that dog an article of clothing, he will go through that woods and he will zero in on your odor and locate you in the woods.
Okay.
That's the best way of explaining that.
And that next morning, I know you worked overnight into the next morning, but we're going in the morning now when you were searching the field area and eventually found the phone.
Correct.
Did you give the dog another item to refresh that scent in his nose?
Yes, I did. I requested from Armada Police Department to get me another article of clothing that was very close to April Millsap.
And what was it?
That was a pillow that she slept on.
All right, and that pillow, you gave the pillow to the dog to get that scent in, as you indicated.
Correct. The dog takes the pillow, no different than a shoe. He muzzles around it for a little bit to get that odor. They usually mess around with it for about 10 seconds, 15 seconds to get the odor.
Okay. It was about 10, 15 seconds, and then your dog is
Yeah,
working.
he's gone.
Okay. Last thing I wanted to cover, and I know you did not watch the animation, but the animation is already part of the trial. It's already admitted as an exhibit. And in fact, on the break, we're able to at least see a portion of that.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play just the final, I don't know, 20 seconds when the animation is already on the Omo Road for reference sake, and ask you to step down and look at it next to the television there.
Mr. David?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's Omo Road going southbound.
Yes.
And this is the driveway right here to the right.
Can you try and pause it just before it ends? Let it keep playing until just before the video ends. Keep playing a little more. Right there. All right. Now, if you would, can you just point to where you found the phone in the case?
The phone was found right along in here, and the case was found basically northeast of the phone.
All right. That's what I have for you. Thank you very much. You're going to have some cross-examination.
Thank you. Pete, if you could put that back up there, actually right there and pause this fine. Just make it bigger. We'll kind of work backwards since we have this up here first, okay? Okay, sir. Donna, it's okay to pause?
Have I ever said no?
No. Have I ever not asked?
No.
Okay. This is Omo Road, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is this on this side, sir?
That's field.
The field, is it like, we obviously the core field, those of us that don't go there. Is that what it is, or is it something else?
At the time, I think it was beans in there,
Okay.
at the time. I never went on that side of the field, so on the road.
Okay, do you know from ever being out there either lately, has that changed, or do you think that's pretty much the same?
You know, I don't drive up in that area a lot, even though I patrol all Macomb County, assist Macomb County agencies. I don't just particularly go on that area. And then plus, I'm at nighttime, so, and I worked nights for 18 years, so.
Just so that we're clear, because I don't think this can be shown from this. This is a private driveway, is it not?
That's correct.
And I believe, is that a sign that says no trespassing or private property, something along that line?
I remember there was 2 white poles, and I don't remember what that sign said.
Okay, but if you're going down Omo, it clearly indicates that from this point on, this is private property, correct?
I don't know what the sign says. I don't know if I can tell you something today. I don't know.
But do you recall or not that this is private property right here?
That is a private drive, yes.
Okay, and if we go up here, there's like a couple of houses, right?
There's 2 houses between 34 Mile Road and there, and that's the second house.
Okay. And so at least according to this part of it, we find the telephone almost halfway in this part of the driveway, correct? Just from what we're seeing here, it may be less because the driveway is close.
I never went all the way back to the house. I don't know how, I know the house sits right there, but I don't know if it'd be halfway or not.
Okay. So I guess my point is that if somebody is familiar with this area, right, at all, Omo Road, they would probably know if you're trying to ditch a phone, that would probably be the place to ditch it, where very unlikely that somebody's going to find it, right?
I don't have that mindset, so I'm sorry. I mean, I brought them in the woods.
But you do have common sense, right?
Common sense, yes.
Okay. Now, common sense would dictate to you, especially if you didn't know the area, if you have a phone and you're trying to get somebody not to find it or something, wouldn't it make a lot of sense, even if you did know this area a lot, to throw it over there as opposed to go down property where just as soon as you get here, there's a sign that indicates you're already either being watched or subject to trespassing laws, and go over here and try to leave it there? Would that make more sense if you really would throw it there or something?
I don't want to answer one way or the other. I mean, for me to say that, I don't know. I just throw it anywhere, any direction. I don't know. I don't have that mindset, I'm sorry.
And sir, I believe you said that there was a distance of, was it 30 or 60 feet between the telephone and the case?
About 30 feet.
About 30 feet. And I couldn't see when you were showing up here. The phone is right here. Is that where the phone was found? This stuff right here?
No, the phone was found in here, sir.
Okay, in here. And just from there, show us where the case was.
Right in this direction.
So the case was closer to...
The private drive.
Thank you. You can take that down, Detective. Thank you, sir. You may sit back down. We'll take you back. I know Prosecutor Gilly asked you to briefly indicate the difference between trailing and tracking. I don't think I understood from what you said. Would you mind giving a little bit more?
Trailing.
What's the difference between trailing and tracking? I've heard you say the terms interchangeably.
Tracking is ground tracking, basically foot to foot. A dog will, like my German Shepherd, for instance, and the Bloodhound will do it also. But you put them on a ground where somebody walk, and we do this all the time. the dog follows that track where that individual goes to. A trail is all air scent, where the dog actually gets it through the air.
I'm not understanding. I'm used to thinking those prison movies, you know, where somebody runs off and get out, this, let the hounds go, and that kind of stuff. So part of it is that when they're tracking, they're kind of following the smell in the ground. They're sort of kind of down.
That's tracking.
Okay, that's tracking.
That's
And
tracking.
The trailing would be virtually the same scenario, except they're sniffing it in the air. They're not
Correct, they're looking for that odor. The same odor that I introduced to the dog, they're looking for that odor. They're trying to connect anything to that odor.
And does that odor have any component of DNA in it? Or, in other words, is that odor something that's generated by DNA, or is it from, like we think of odor, we think of underarms,
Right,
sweat?
well, it's in everybody, every single person has a different odor.
Okay.
And the dog is attached to that odor, that specific person. As far as DNA, I don't think DNA, I'm not a scientist, but I don't think DNA, I think it's just the odor of the person.
It sounds really stupid. If somebody just took a shower and they're brushed and clean, was there less chance that you'd be able to track them, or is there something innately in us that has an odor that, irrespective of...
It's naturally in you. You know, you smell different than I do. I smell different than they do.
No need to get personal here.
I know, but I'm just saying, everybody smells different.
Okay, all right. And now, just so ladies and gentlemen of the jury are on the same page, you found nothing that either tracked or trailed from the backpack, the telephone, or Ms. April Millsap's body anywhere to the defendant, his residence, or any of his belongings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, may I briefly confer before passing the witness?
You don't have to ask me, Mr. Shinn.
It's an interesting question for you. Can the dog smell a tire?
A tire?
Yeah, like, in other words, just for example, if a motorcycle or something had been there, would it be able to say the motorcycle went this way, or?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Have a pleasant weekend. Thank you, Your Honor.
I have no regret, Your Honor.
So then a dog can only smell human scent.
Yeah, that's what he's trained with, human scent.
Could he be trained with anything else?
Yeah, you can train dogs with anything. You see them in airports with peanuts and fruits, and, you know, it's all repetition. You know, if you take anything, cell phones, for instance, if you solely train your dog on to alert on cell phones, it's a components of that cell phone that the dog is trained to track.
Thanks.
Okay.
We'll feed the dogs.
Yes.
Thank you. Who's your next witness?
Deputy Bozak.
And sir, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your first name?
Joseph,
And Joseph, how do you spell your last name?
B-O-S-E-K.
B-O-S-E-K. That's it? Have a seat. Speak loud.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, would you indicate where you're employed and what your job is?
I'm an evidence technician with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office.
And what does that mean? Like, what do you do day to day?
Our main purpose is to document crime scenes and collect evidence.
How long have you been deputy, and then how long an evidence technician?
Been a deputy for 17 years, evidence technician for 7.
Do you have to go through some special training to become an evidence technician?
Yes, 2 weeks with the Macomb Police Academy.
And you completed that successfully?
Yes.
All right. As it relates to this investigation involving the death of April Millsap, did you have some involvement in that?
Yes.
And would you indicate how you initially became involved in the investigation as it led to the recovery of a piece of evidence?
I was called to Fulton and Depot in Armada to assist several Macomb County Sheriff's Reserve deputies in a search for evidence pertaining to a homicide investigation.
And were you personally part of the search team?
No, I was told to stand by for the collection of any evidence that might be found.
And you indicated there were a number of reserve officers who were called out?
Like a sort of a force multiplier to come out and search?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was that search directed at a particular area?
Yes.
basically describing, can you tell me where that was?
It was areas mainly south of the Macomb Orchard Trail, east of Fulton Street.
East of Fulton, south of the trail. I don't think 59 is really that. I'm going to show you, and well, before we get there, ultimately, was there an item recovered by yourself?
Yes.
Or seized by yourself, whatever
Yes.
word you want to use properly.
Yes.
What was that item?
That was a black backpack.
And there were some contents in that backpack as well?
Yes.
All right, it was all seized.
Yes.
You documented where that was found?
Yes.
And you were in fact the evidence technician who did that, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you what I've marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 59, ask if you recognize that.
Yes.
What is that?
That is a map of the location of the backpack.
All right, I'd move to admit 59, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Would you come down here, please, and keep your voice up, because you're not going to be right next to George and close to that microphone. Can you, I want to make sure the jurors in all the corners can see what you're doing, so let me have you use this, stand a little ways away and point to, orient us, please, and show us, I know it says backpack, but for the record, what are you looking at?
This is the Macomb Orchard Trail. This would be west of the, this would be Fulton Street. So this is the Armada Grain Company right here. The backpack was located in the wooded area east of the Armada Grain Company. It was probably about 125 feet south of the trail in the wooded area.
Now, what I'm looking at here, just by my eye, a tree line, and then another tree line, kind of a jog. Is that accurate?
There's a grassy area here. It turns into kind of like a brush area, which turns into like a wooded area.
All right. And does that sort of same progression take place just below where this legend is?
Yes.
And the legend indicates north, south, east, west?
Correct.
You've labeled a couple of other things. What's that?
That's the Armada Grain Company, and this is the Macomb Orchard Trail.
The trail is right here,
Correct.
just north of that.
Correct.
Now, you yourself, do we have the backpack? I'm not going to take it out of this box. I'm going to, it's already been admitted as Exhibit 7. We'll show this to you. I ask if you recognize this. You recognize that?
Yes.
And what is
That
that?
is the backpack that was recovered at the scene right here.
You documented the location that was found?
Yes.
Prior to yourself and the reserve officers going out to search, you indicated you were given a briefing as to basically an idea of where to look.
Yes.
If we could do it, and it'll be brief, can we cue up the animation to the return trip of April's phone when it gets into that area?
Phone or backpack? Phone.
The animation of the phone path.
Okay.
I want you to watch for the location, Deputy, as this is progressing. Tell me if you see the approximate area in the video where the backpack was seized by you.
Can I point it out?
Yes, can you pause it?
Pause it. Right in this area.
You were personally, physically out there and seized that backpack in that area?
Correct.
All right, you can turn off the animation. Thank you. All right, you can go ahead and sit down.
Thanks. I'm going to show you a series of photographs, and we're going to move through them fairly quickly here for jurors, but I want them to see this. think I
You're
probably,
done with this one, so
I don't mind moving it. I'm going to show you these pictures too. This is going to be 60 through 66. And Craig, I think that reverse number. Yeah. I've shown these all to counsel. Do you want me to have the witness authenticate them first, or I'm going to move for their admission?
we have no objection to their admission, 60 through 66, right?
Yes.
They're all admitted.
Thank you. Can you see the screen from where you are?
Yes.
Could you display what is my exhibit 66, please? Is that a photograph then of this larger?
Yes, it is.
All right. Move past that. 65?
What was that last one, 66?
Yes. This will be 65, that's now displayed. What is that?
That is a photo looking east from the Macomb Orchard Trail toward where the area where the backpack was found. The flag depicts the entrance.
Where's the flag?
Flag right here.
Can you box that, Craig, so they can see that from? And now could you zoom back out just so we can?
Gives an overall shot of where the backpack was found in relation to the trail.
64 is going to be a little bit, basically what they just saw in a closer up picture. That's that flag?
Yes.
Yes? Would you display 63, please? Now, I don't see the flag in this picture, so if we back up one picture to the flag being displayed, if we could. So taking that picture and then moving into the next picture. Is this just moving into the brush now?
Yes.
Okay. Can we then display this picture, which is 62? Is that the backpack?
Yes, it is.
A ruler down there, is that just in case you ever wanted to have something to scale or to measure?
Yes.
Okay. 61, please. Water bottle.
Yes, it was inside the backpack.
And then could you display 60, please? This was also in the backpack. Dog treats?
Yes.
All right, you go ahead and sit down. What, how long were you out there that day?
Probably about 5 to 6 hours.
Okay. And were you part of the larger and ongoing effort by Armada and the FBI and the state police and sheriff department and Detroit police and whoever else was helping in this investigation?
No.
This was your involvement?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon, sir.
In looking for the backpack and all the work that you did you have anything that you tracked or found that in any way related to the defendant, James VanCallis?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your excuse, thank you, sir. Your next witness.
This time, Your Honor, we would call Chief Howard Smith.
Sir, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
What's your first name,
Howard, Howard,
last name?
Smith, Smith.
Any objection if I call you Chief?
Not a problem.
Chief, how long have you been the Chief of the Armada Police Department?
About 9.5 years.
How large is the department?
There are 2 full-time officers, there are 10 part-time officers.
In the city itself, I guess, where is the police department located?
The way I explain it to everybody is it's kitty corner behind the post office. It's a small village, everybody kind of knows where the post office is.
Prior to becoming Chief of Armada, did you work as an officer in another department?
I worked as an officer, a sergeant, a detective, a lieutenant for the city of Bloomfield Hills for 28.5 years.
Did we know each other in a different life then?
In a far different life, Mr. Cataldo.
You then received a pass to come on this side of DeQuinder with us and become Chief of Armada?
And you received a 2-way pass. You got to come from the dark side to the good side, and you got to come on the side of DeQuinder.
Yes.
I agree, let's move on.
The department itself, how, I guess, large is the city department itself, the building that you're housed in?
Oh, probably, if you exclude the garage, probably 980 square feet.
When this investigation began and started rolling, did you need larger facilities to sort of house all the teams that were being involved?
It actually took 2 steps. Initially, the night of the 24th, moving into the morning of the 25th, we took the police station, we took the commission room, we took the village offices. As we continued to get aid from other departments, we ended up contacting the Armada School District. Obviously, in July, the school district was out. We moved into a large conference room and used some classrooms over in the Armada Administration Building.
Would you explain to the jury, I guess, the interrelationship then between the various departments that were called to investigate this murder?
Well, initially, how it expanded was when we put out the initial call for the, made the decision on who we wanted to tech the scene. We placed a call to the Michigan State Police because we wanted the Michigan State Police to do the forensic work in it.
Let me ask about that. Your department is yourself full-time, 2 other full-time officers, I believe. Officer Newmeyer is one of the full-time officers?
He is not. He's a part-time officer.
And then you have the 10 part-time officers. Would you explain to the jury, first of all, what an evidence technician is?
As a matter of fact, the deputy that was just up here was an evidence technician. What an evidence technician does is they go out, they try to seek out evidence. Not only do they seek out evidence, they need to collect the evidence. They need to catalog it, they need to bring it back in, and then ultimately it needs to go to a lab for analysis.
So like civilian Kozlowski, who testified earlier, and then Deputy Bozek, these are trained individuals that when a crime occurs are called to the scene, and they're the ones that then investigate and attempt to find evidence to secure, to send off to labs or whatever else that may be needed for in trial itself?
That is correct.
At one time in your career, were you trained as an evidence technician?
I was, yes.
Is anybody else in your department trained as an evidence technician?
There are other evidence technicians. As a matter of fact, at the time, we had an officer who spent, I believe it was the last 12 years of his career, collecting evidence and analyzing evidence for the Southfield Police Department.
Was this type of a case, I guess, larger than the Armada Department and the staff available to investigate it?
One of the things that I felt I needed to be cognizant with was not only the appropriate collection of evidence, but the fact that that evidence could be collected, processed, categorized, and then moved to a crime lab where it could be analyzed. Due to the magnitude of the case, I thought that it was very imperative that that start, process, and finish with the same group. That was one of the reasons that the decision was to use the Michigan State Police.
Would you describe for the jury the overlapping jurisdiction that we have between those three agencies? You have the Armada Police Department, then you have the Macomb County Sheriff's Department, and then you have the Michigan State Police. Do all three patrol Armada? Do all three have jurisdiction in Armada? How are the decisions made as to who is going to perform what task on a crime scene like this?
Generally what occurs is you start with the smallest. The smallest department that has a jurisdiction, say in the village of Armada, which is 1 mile square, would be the Village Police Department. They have primary policing authority within the village of Armada. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office obviously is tasked with policing and providing services for Macomb County, obviously the larger entity that Armada sits in. And then obviously the Michigan State Police oversees the whole state of Michigan, which Macomb County sits in, which the village of Armada sits in.
The village of Armada and your department, you don't have any labs for testing?
We do not.
Would that be the same then with the Sheriff's Department? The Sheriff's Department, though staffed, as we see, with evidence techs, do they have any labs that you are aware of that after the evidence is collected, it's tested at the Sheriff's Department or under the auspices of the Sheriff's Department?
I am not aware of that capability or lack of capability with the Sheriff's Office.
But you do know that the state police has a series of crime labs and experts in various fields.
That was my feeling, is the state police could start it, process it all the way through, and come to an end result without it having been moved.
Going to July 24th of 2014, how were you made aware that a young girl's body was found on the trail?
I received a call from my detective,
And that would have been Detective who?
Detective James Sharp.
Is he a full-time employee or a part-time employee?
He's a little bit of a hybrid. He works 32 hours a week. He is technically a part-timer, but he does have a contract, so he's a bit of a hybrid.
Where were you, I guess, when you received the news?
I had just got done playing hockey, and I was at a friend's house, and that's where I was.
What time of night was this?
About 8:20 in the evening, 8:30 when I received the call.
How far were you from this friend's house to the Armada Police Department?
It took me about 20 minutes to a half an hour to get there. She lives in Macomb Township.
Are you making decisions about how this is going to proceed based on the information that you had, or are you waiting until you get to the department to be debriefed before you make any decision?
No, when the detective contacted me, he told me that Officer Newmeyer was on the scene. I have a lot of respect and trust for Officer Newmeyer. He's got years of experience. I was certain that he had a perimeter set up, but I did call him. Made sure that we had a perimeter set up, and then the next question was, who do we start rolling in order to do the crime scene investigation, the
Okay.
checking of it.
Let me back you up just a second. Now, there are, in my experience in this field, as well as, I guess, watching TV, I'm aware of perimeters. When you were present, when Officer Newmeyer testified, to indicate that he set up a perimeter and he used the fire department and other available resources, including the sheriff's department, until you arrived. Are we talking about a perimeter that keeps people out of the area? Or are we talking about the perimeter like I see in Alaska State Troopers or cops, where they're immediately attempting to set up a large circle in an effort to apprehend somebody?
In this particular circumstance, the perimeter is to keep people out of the crime scene area, to try to preserve evidence, and also to categorize as the people come into the crime scene, who is arriving, who's there, why are they there.
Why is that important?
We don't want to contaminate the crime scene. We want to keep it as pristine as possible. One of the things that we certainly don't want happening is we don't want people going into the crime scene for the mere purpose of gawking at it or seeing what it's about. We want to keep everybody out, everybody away. One, if we have to use dogs, we need the area as clean as possible. And two, we want those crime scene techs, when they go in, to not have the police department, the fire department, everybody else trampling through it to take a look at it before the techs get there.
You take approximately 20 minutes to travel to the police department first, or do you go right to the scene?
Went to the police department first.
What decisions then do you make about the personnel that you're going to involve in this investigation?
Well, as we made the call to the state police to get the techs coming out, I assume it would be the duty supervisor, whoever the highest ranking detective on at the time. When that call went in and described why we need the techs, that particular person took a look at assets that might be available, that might be a reasonable group to send to Armada to give us assistance.
Could we put up the overall shot? I believe it's... This is it. 35. All right, if you would step down, Chief. Keep your voice up. We have the microphones pointed this way. First of all, you're the one person we can put up here who knows this whole area. Would you show us, first of all, does this include where the police station is, this portion? If not, would you just show us sort of from where you're standing where it would be?
The police station is the building that's one north of that building. It's right there.
All right, and that's off of East Main Street?
It's actually, Church turns into Burke. It's actually 74274 Burke. And the post office is here, and within the same building at the back is the police station.
Would you show us approximately where April Millsap lived on this map? You know?
I do.
Okay.
It would be right about here.
What's the distance between there, then, and I guess the entrance to the Orchard Lake Trail?
The Macomb Orchard Trail from April's house is approximately a little over half a mile.
We talked about this being the granary. Would you officially sort of know what this actually is?
The granary, the office to the granary is here. This is the elevator. This is where they actually, they make a number of different products, food for dogs, food for horses. The farmers come in, they do buying and selling here. the process here. This used to be, Macomb Orchard Trail used to be a railroad grade, and the trains used to stop and pick up product. But that is, this section here, this section here is actually the granary. That's actually the elevator for the granary.
There's several, we saw as we watched the beginning of the GoPro video, spots for vehicles to park at to get onto the Orchard Trail, Macomb Orchard Trail.
There are, and this area right here, this pavement here is marked for Macomb Orchard Trail. There are areas, this is our Department of Public Works. There's some areas there, and there's some gravel areas in here that people can park for the Macomb Orchard Trail.
And just so the jury could see, would you point out Floral Street, Church Street, and Fulton Street?
Floral is here, Church is here. Another street that we hear about is Depot. Depot runs here. This main street here, which I shouldn't call Main Streets because this is Main Street, but this street is called Fulton, which most of Macomb County knows as North Avenue.
Does North Avenue turn into Fulton as it enters Armada?
North Avenue is Fulton and the village of Armada. We do not have a section that we call North Avenue.
Does it continue as Fulton as it exits then?
No, when you hit Armada Center and go north, it turns back into North Avenue.
The area that we've been calling Liberty and the Liberty Path, would you show that to us on this map?
All right. This is Liberty Lane here. It's a dead-end street. There is a, for lack of a better term, a large, heavily marshed area right here at the end of Liberty. There is a little bicycle track or two-track that goes out and around, comes back around behind the marshy area, and then comes out on the Macomb Trail here.
Would you have an idea, generally, what the distance would be from the Macomb Orchard Trail, starting at the granary, and then going down to Omo Road?
Approximately a mile. It's approximately a mile between North Avenue and Omo Road, or Fulton and Omo Road.
Now, we've heard testimony from another witness, and we will hear more testimony next week, that after Omo Road, there's another main road called Pitt.
There is another main road called Pitt, yes.
Is it P-I-T-T?
It is.
What is the distance between Omo Road and Pitt?
Approximately another mile.
What city, what direction is that heading into as you are then heading east on the Macomb Orchard Trail?
Okay, it's heading east, and that will, if you stay on Macomb Orchard Trail, or Main Street turns into a street called Armada Ridge. Both of those, if you stay eastbound, you will end up in the city of Richmond.
What's the distance between, I guess, Armada and the city of Richmond?
It's approximately 7 or 8 miles.
Now, we saw earlier, you were present, from Trooper Swift, who was Trooper Margosian, a video at approximately 6:33 p.m. from the McDonald's in Richmond, and then they showed coming up Armada Trail into Armada. What's the distance between that McDonald's and where the Liberty Trail is?
That would be approximately 10 miles.
Is the path wide enough for a car to drive on?
Yes, it is. A scout car, an ambulance can go down the trail.
They were in fact all on the trail that evening, and we'll get to that.
That's correct.
Is it possible it's like 2-lane traffic from what we've seen, or?
It is not.
Okay, if you could just remain standing for just a second. You have a seat. You can take that down. Thanks, Craig. You get the news. You return to the department. You've made several decisions about who is going to handle what? What do you do physically?
Physically, I get in a scout car. I get a hold of Officer Newmeyer again. I ask Officer Newmeyer what the best route for me was to get to the scene. He suggested that I come through the Liberty Trail. Myself and Detective Sharp went to the Liberty Trail. I left a technical service officer in the station to assist us with people coming in, and I went to the crime scene.
Approximately how long was it from the time that you received the call to the time that you actually arrived at the crime scene?
My guess was probably a half an hour.
If we could put that one back up, Craig. So essentially then you parked in this area here, down here on the Liberty Trail?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And walked to the trail, from the trail, I guess what we would call the trailhead?
Yes, to the Macomb Orchard Trail, yes.
When you are on the Macomb Orchard Trail and you've come from Liberty and Liberty's behind you, is the crime scene to the left or to the right?
Crime scene's to the right, it would be west of the trail.
Approximately how far from that Liberty Trail to the right was April Millsap's body?
To the entrance to where April was found was probably 30, 40 feet.
Thank you. Who are you with as you approach the scene?
Detective Sharp, we were met by Officer Newmeyer.
Did you walk then to where April Millsap's body was?
Did not, and neither did Detective Sharp.
At the time that you arrived, had the Michigan State Police technical unit yet arrived?
They had not.
Had the medical examiner's office arrived?
They had not.
How is it that the medical examiner's office is notified to arrive at a scene like this?
The department, the jurisdiction handling it would call them. Officer Newmeyer called them.
Where is Officer Newmeyer, I guess, as you arrive here?
Basically, his vehicle was parked, as I remember it, just west of the entrance. As we came out of the trail, Officer Newmeyer walked toward us. He would be walking east from his vehicle. We walked west, and we met him by the opening where April's body was found.
Did you eventually go into the area where April Millsap's body was?
I did not go into the area where April Millsap's body was until after April was removed, until after it was teched.
But you did go there, so you're familiar with the area?
I am.
We've heard a little bit from the transcript we read from Matthew Sadich, as well as the live testimony from Mr. Reschke. We've heard about this trail being a former railroad, and then we heard about there being a slight drop. Would you explain to the jury the distance of that drop, and does that occur along the full path, and I guess describe it at the crime scene?
Okay. Probably the best way to describe it is a ditch. It is, when it was a railroad grade, it was crowned, probably in an attempt to keep water and snow off of it. Particularly on the north side of the Macomb Orchard Trail, as you, probably you've got the paved portion of the trail, then you probably have maybe 2-3 feet, and then it drops off relatively sharply, relatively quick. When I walked over there the first time, you almost lose your footing as you go through. It's probably, the initial drop-off is probably, 2.5, 3 feet, and then it is even banked steeper on the other side and crowned on the other side, so you're going up maybe 3 to 4 feet on the north side of that ditched area.
I'm going to ask you to step down. We're going to put exhibit number 36 up. All right, would you show us where the Liberty Trail is in that photograph?
Liberty Trail is this dirt area right here.
You indicated then that the crime scene was approximately 30 to 40 feet to the right of that. Would you put the pointer on where the entrance is to that scene?
Right here.
So approximately that spot right there. All right, stay there. We're going to then put up People's 35. And can you see the Liberty Trail in that photograph?
I can.
Okay, would you point it out?
Right here.
Okay, and would you indicate then from that photograph where the entrance to the crime scene is?
Right here.
So then that really is an accurate representation of the distance between that trail and where the body was found?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Have a seat. When you arrived, what lighting condition is it? It's July 24th. You get there at about what time?
Oh, probably around 10 to 9 o'clock.
You indicated that at that time, none of the other services had arrived, but a perimeter had been set up?
Correct. Officer Newmeyer used the Armada Township Fire Department to set up a perimeter. And I believe at that point in time, there had been a Macomb County Sheriff that had picked up the trail by Fulton, but I'm not positive.
We're going to put the overall map back up. Would you sort of, if you know, indicate physically on that photograph where the perimeter was set up? Show us again where the Liberty Path is, where the body was.
Well, the Liberty Path is a very important one in that as we came along there, the first person that Detective Sharp and I came in contact with was a member of the Armada Township Fire Department. He was stationed here, and he stayed there until the wee hours of the morning, making sure nobody didn't come in this way. There was also members of the fire department at this end, monitoring people coming this way. There was, I believe, somebody here by where the Franklin Street deads. There was somebody there, and then, as I said, back down here, there was either a Macomb County Sheriff's Office, but ultimately Officer Scola from the Armada Police Department ended up taking up that position. There really was nobody monitoring south coming to north. There's not really any open area to do that, and if anybody came upon the crime scene, Officer Newmeyer was there for that.
But let's talk about that just a little bit. I see what is this area right in here?
This whole area is an undeveloped wooded area. There has been some talk about blowing these streets out and putting in some more subdivision, but as it stands on July 24th and today, it's densely wooded.
What are we seeing right here?
They call this Lake Omo. It is, I believe, an old stone quarry that is now filled with water. It's not even really recreational. It's private to these homes that are on Omo.
Now, this is Omo Road right here.
That is correct.
Okay, and what was the, and
does Main Street come across up here?
This is St. Mary's Church, which would be the east border for the village of Armada. Once the road continues on up here, it becomes Armada Ridge.
This would be heading south.
That's heading south, correct?
We've had Deputy Morgan testify that the phone was found in this general area here.
That's right.
Just, are these private residences?
They are.
How many, is this a private, let's just go individually. Is this a private residence with this driveway here?
It is.
Is this one a private residence?
Yes, it is.
Is there a private residence up here?
There's actually a number. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and then there's one that sits back here.
And this is all private property?
This is all private property, yes.
Describe this property in here, which is on the south side of the trail.
Well, this area here, this spans along here, and this area here is all heavily wooded. There are some power lines that run along, almost like an easement along the trail here. This is cultivated farmland.
So when we were watching the FBI one, we saw this line going all the way across. Those are, you indicate, electrical lines?
Correct.
Okay, have a seat. Thank you, Fred. You get to the scene, you meet with Officer Newmeyer. The other agencies aren't there yet. I guess, what are you doing?
Well, initially, getting the initial briefing, actually, Officer Newmeyer was relating some information about a missing woman out of Washington Township. He was informing me that Michigan State Police headed crime lab, or techs had been notified, the ME had been notified, and then I was informed that there was going to be a response from some task forces that were, in a sense, mustered out when we made the call to the Michigan State Police Crime Lab.
So we have the FBI involved, we have the Sheriff's Department, there's a major crimes task force that involves a variety of both federal, state, and local agencies, very specific to homicide cases. Your indication is they responded to assist in this investigation? Correct.
There's two key ones. The Violent Crimes Task Force, Trooper Swift, I believe, was assigned to that at that point in time. Homicide Task Force, they did a lot of work in Detroit, Inkster. They were mustered out because it was a violent crime. And the Southeastern Michigan Crimes Against Children, SEMCAC, was mustered out as well, which is also a concept team. Southfield, Michigan State Police, FBI, Macomb County Sheriff's Office has members in that task force. So we had a number of people coming, but specifically the night of the 24th, we were starting to get investigators from the Violent Crimes Task Force were starting to show up, and the techs from the Michigan State Police were starting to show up.
Aside from the potential of the missing woman from Washington Township, were you given any information about the age of the victim, even though there hadn't been an identification made yet, being older or younger?
Officer Newmeyer said that the victim appeared to be young.
During this initial briefing, were you made aware of a dog?
I was.
Can you describe the dog?
I can, and as a matter of fact, Officer Newmeyer had her on a leash. She was
Okay.
right there, so.
So if we could put up exhibit number 4. Is that the dog?
That's Penny.
So I didn't know. So when you actually talking with Newmeyer, when you first arrive on the scene, the dog is on a leash and with him.
Yes.
Are you given information at that point that the dog was or was not a potential part of what this crime scene was all about?
He said that the dog was at the crime scene, would not leave the crime scene. As Officer Newmeyer testified, Officer Newmeyer is a canine handler. He had a dog of his own, and we felt that the dog was part and parcel of the crime scene. So we actually contacted the Macomb County Sheriff's Office and asked them to send out animal control so that we could confine the dog until we knew what we might do with the dog.
So in sticking with the dog for now, was the dog in fact kept for a period of time? So this is approximately what, 8:30, 9 o'clock now on the 24th?
Well, now we're moving past 9 o'clock now. We're probably, getting into the 9:30, time frame. And we did, yes, we kept the dog. I believe we gave the dog back to the owners the next day.
Was the dog, I guess, for lack of a better term, teched in any way?
I believe it was, yes.
And that would be part of the protocol for a crime scene in an effort to look for some type of physical evidence?
That would be correct.
Was it teched by your department or another department?
By Michigan State Police.
Did there come a time where you came into contact with Jennifer Millsap and her boyfriend David?
I believe it was approximately 10 o'clock. I'm not exactly sure if it was 10:30, but Officer Scola, the officer that I mentioned, was to the far west end. He contacted Officer Newmeyer, contacted us, and stated that he had a mother with a young man who was identifying himself as a boyfriend to a missing girl.
And that missing girl was April Millsap?
It was. The description of the clothing that was given by Officer Scola matched our victim. At that point in time, we knew that we did not have a missing woman out of Washington Township, but we had a deceased girl.
What decisions do you make about that once you receive that information?
Again, we just plotted through. We had the mother and the young man, and I believe he was accompanied by his buddy. We had them go to the station, and we had them remain at the station until we could get people to interview them. We continued with the teching of the scene. As that was processing and we had investigators arriving that could interview, we then moved back over to the station to try to set up an interview April's mother and her boyfriend and the people that were there.
With a small department and yourself as the chief, is it possible for you to be involved in every aspect of what the investigation was turning into at this point?
My belief is it's best to let people do what their jobs are. And my job, as I saw it, was to coordinate and make sure that we successfully ran an investigation that would culminate with a successful arrest. So I let what I did was I tried to make sure that we were headed towards investigations, interviews that I would not be involved with because those interviews should lead to other things, and I wanted the investigators to do that.
Overall, then, you, I guess, would be the general overseer of, it's your department, and you've got all of these factions coming to assist. You're, I guess, the decision maker at this point, hoping to direct, I guess, or be told where it's going and just remain informed.
Probably the best way to describe it is Joint Incident Command. It's my jurisdiction. Any decision is ultimately going to land on me, so I need to know what's going on. Detective Sergeant MacArthur was the lead investigator. She was, an OIC, part of the Joint Command. We had members from the Michigan State Police that, had, assets at the scene. There was a detective lieutenant that was overseeing that. We had a special agent from the FBI that helped oversee what their functions could be. So we would have, in the beginning, we were having, briefings every, about 3 times a day, but we would task out assignments, we would get back, pull back together, we would figure out where we are, where we need to go next, we would have briefings, and then we would assign investigators to do different investigations.
We'll eventually get to the tips and some of the other techniques that were used. I want to sort of right now stay on that evening.
Sure.
So would that be, that's when you met Sergeant MacArthur, and she was more or less your chief lieutenant on the whole thing, while you, she was making day-to-day operations decisions, and you were involved in a lot of different aspects, I guess, of this investigation?
That's a fair statement, yes.
Did you meet with Jennifer Millsap or any of the 2 boys or anybody at that time on the trail?
Did not bring them to the scene, had them go to the station. I saw them in the station. I had known Jennifer and David from before. David was not there yet, but it's a small village.
So you knew her, you knew the name?
I did.
Did you know that she had a daughter named April?
I did.
Now, when you find out that she is there with Austin and Alex, you have an idea then formulating of who this body might belong to?
I do.
Approximately when does the medical examiner arrive, and are you still at the scene when the medical examiner arrives?
I don't believe I was at the scene. My belief from discussions with Officer Newmeyer that it was around 11:30 or midnight when the medical examiner arrived.
Did you, approximately what time, I guess, did you leave the scene?
My recollection is I left the scene probably about 10:30 or 11.
In that time that you're there now, you're arriving around 9-ish, around 9:30, you hear the information about Jennifer Millsap. What, I guess, are you doing in that next hour? Where are you at, and how are you overseeing what's going on?
At that point in time, investigators, not only the texts from the state police were arriving, which I did not have to do a lot with that. We did, have to figure out which people arriving were techs and which were investigators. The techs were shown the scene, so there was initial introductions with that. And then as the investigators show up, there's a meeting with them, a discussion with them as to, what we have, how it came about, and where we are now, and then what resources we already have coming.
You indicated at some point in time you had gone down that ditch into the area where April's body was. Can you tell the jury when you did that?
I don't believe I did that until the next day.
When you went there the next day, were there still signs of that a body had been there?
There really was not, no.
But you knew the location because you had been there?
Exactly. I had been there, I knew where the opening was, I knew where the body was, but initially that night I did not go back there. There was no reason for me to go back in there.
To give the jury an idea of what this trail looks like and all of the information we've been talking about on the trail, at some point during the investigation, was it requested that you produce a video of the trail?
There was.
Okay, and what directions and what distances was this video made?
What we did is, we employed the services of the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. They brought out one of their ATVs, they put a GoPro, little video camera, on the ATV. They ran from Fulton to Omo, and then back Omo, back to Fulton, so that we could, try to, that part of the trail is what's in question here. We wanted to be able to provide a demonstrative view of what that looks like.
I'm going to hand you People's Proposed Exhibit number 32. This was sort of shown to Mr. Reschke. Is this a disc version of the video that was taken by your department at that request?
It is.
And this is the video, you've seen it off of this disc?
I have.
At this time, Your Honor, I don't believe there's any objection. We're going to move to the introduction of People's Exhibit number 32.
No objection.
At this time, then, let us
It's
show
admitted. Can I
the...
rule, excuse me, can I rule on these things? It's admitted. May continue.
Let's go from Fulton to Omo Road. If you would, just seated there, point out things as they appear.
On the left is the Memorial Garden, which was not there on July 24, 2014. This is the elevator. This is the production area of the Armada Granary. These are some of the parking, the gravel parking that I talked about that runs along Depot, that people use to bring their bicycles and their roller blades and whatever they're going to take on the trail.
Now, if we would, just keep it going for a second, Craig. Do me a favor, stop it here, pause it. Would you show us, based on that, now that they've seen the granary go by, where that backpack was found?
Backpack was found right in this area here.
So that's actually still on the property of that Granary Corporation?
It is, yes.
Thank you. Keep going.
This is the Department of Public Works. Right at the end of the Department of Public Works is a street called Floral, which is where the Sages lived, and that has come up in the testimony before. The foliage is similar, it's kind of dense, you can see that it does twist.
You had indicated that decline of 2.5 or 3 feet. Does it run along both sides of this trail as we're watching it?
Yes. Not so much on the south side.
Which would be to the side to the right as we're looking at it?
Correct.
Approximately how wide are those shoulders?
Those shoulders are approximately 3 to 4 feet wide.
When the Liberty Trail comes up, if you would point that out also.
I'm trying to...
You need to step forward more.
right there.
Okay. We saw that little red triangle as we were going by. Do you know what that represents since you were present when this was made?
I'm afraid I don't. It's, as far as I know, we did not put any markers out on the trail when we did it.
Now, this is the first time the jury gets to see. We're now on the far side. We're east of the Liberty Trail.
That's correct.
Just for the record, the foliage seems, I guess, less dense or is more light.
It does. It opens up as we get closer to Olmo. It'll get even more open than this.
At that point where it becomes less dense, are there electric wires that go overhead?
I don't know that you'll be able to see them, but this direction over here to the right is the south, and they would be over in that direction.
Electric wires right there.
And there's no, there, yes. That car right there is on Olmo.
All right, and that there is Olmo Road itself.
That is correct.
That thing off to the right, that little bridge, is that the continuation and a
Yes,
trail across?
that's the Macomb Orchard Trail going farther east.
And then just for the record, there is a slight pause in the ATV, and then it will continue forward in just a second. And the next view that we're going to see is heading from west to east back toward the granary.
Heading from east to
East
west.
to west, okay, thank you. I think you'd have to see Chief, and we've seen.
Thank you. Again, you can see the power lines that were up just to the south.
Going back up to the granary again then? That field is to the left where the backpack was found?
This is the initial opening, just east of the granary. The backpack was found just south. And the scout car will be on Fulton or North Avenue.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, not to risk anything further on my part, but this will probably be a good time for a natural break. The next couple of videos I have to show are also extensive.
We'll see you on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Have a great weekend. Do not watch anything, listen to anything, talk to anybody about this case. Be safe, stay warm.
All rise for the jury.
Be thankful you don't live in Washington, D.C.
I'll keep it with his file, which I'm going to take home.
Is that the one already admitted though?
No, I gave you the go.
You got the GoPro in there?
Don't forget about these.
Yes.
Oh.